I spent about an hour in the Oval Office today with President Donald Trump as he approaches his 100th day in office. And one of the most interesting aspects was that he chose to weigh in on the upcoming French election. He said that he believes that the recent attack at the Champs-Élysées will probably help the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, saying that she is the strongest candidate on borders and a lot of the security issues that France is dealing with right now. Now, the president specifically said he was not endorsing Le Pen in this election, but he did say that he thought that the candidate with the strongest record on borders and terrorism would win the contest. And again, he cited her as that candidate. It's unusual for a U.S. president to weigh in so specifically on a foreign election, but Trump said that he didn't actually think that it was unusual. He said that everybody is making predictions about elections, and he's just like anybody else doing that. I also talked to the president about the Dreamers. These are the young immigrants who are brought to the U.S. illegally as children, and said, what can you say to them? They're very nervous that you're going to enact immigration policies that will lead to their deportation. And he said that his message to the Dreamers was that they can rest easy. He said that is the policy of his administration, that they are not going after Dreamers, they're going after criminals. So that will be a sigh of relief for a lot of these young people. The president says that he is going to release a tax reform package in the middle of next week. This came as a surprise to a lot of congressional Republicans who haven't heard a lot about this tax package, but the president says that it is going to result in a massive tax cut for both individuals and businesses. He didn't provide a lot of details about how he would accomplish that, how a tax package would be paid for, but he does say that it's coming next week, right ahead of his 100-day mark in office. The other thing that Congress and the president have to deal with next week is funding to keep the government open. And one thing I asked the president was whether he would be willing to sign a funding bill if it does not include money to pay for his border wall, which was obviously a big campaign promise. And I asked him this many times, and he basically said he just doesn't know yet, which for some of his supporters may not go over well. They really want to see him follow through on this promise. He said that the border wall is a big priority for his base. He's well aware of that. He believes it is going to get done. He believes it will get done under budget. But again, that does not necessarily mean that he will demand that it is included in a spending bill for next week. The president has taken to saying that Iran is not following through with the spirit of the nuclear agreement. So I tried to ask him a little bit about what that meant. What aren't they living up to? And he really focused not on their compliance with the nuclear accord and the actual nuclear provisions, but on Iran's other destabilizing activity across the Middle East. He said that that is not in keeping with the spirit of the agreement. He also interestingly said that he doesn't talk about the nuclear deal when he talks to other world leaders who are parties to the agreement. He didn't rule out eventually pulling the U.S. out of the nuclear accord, but it did not sound as though that is something that is imminent. I asked the president about whether he believes that the U.S. should charge and arrest Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. Of course, Trump was quite favorable toward WikiLeaks during the campaign when they were releasing Hillary Clinton campaign emails. But Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, says that it is now a priority for the Justice Department to arrest Assange. And so I asked the president whether that's his priority too. He said, interestingly, that he wasn't aware that that was something that Sessions was going to be pursuing, but that he supports it. If Jeff Sessions wants to do that, it's okay with him, he said.